Good afternoon, and thank you, William, for inviting me here this afternoon. I'd just like to say thank you to the farmers in the room from Bullock, Macon, Lowndes, all over the state. Thank you, and thank you for doing such a great job. As she said, my husband and I do own a grocery store in Bullock County, and we do purchase produce, seasonal produce. We all know that fresh from the field tastes so much better than produce that's been stored and hauled over thousands of miles to reach the table. So thank you, and please continue doing the great work that you do. I've been asked here by William to provide some words of inspiration. So with God's help, that's what I'm going to do. We live in strange times. Does anybody feel like these times are really strange, other than myself, that we are currently experiencing? And we live in an age where the truth is called a lie, and a lie is called the truth. And we're living in a time where there's just confusion. It seems that fear and anxiety prevail. But, you know, we shouldn't be surprised by that. Christ forewarned us that these days would come. It's not, as believers, we shouldn't be taken by surprise. These things will only catch those who do not know the Word of God by surprise. But we as believers, we know that these things are to happen. So I'd just like to take a few minutes to encourage you. For, as I said earlier, as believers, we know that the external circumstances that we witness on a day-to-day basis, they may appear dark and bleak, but the sun still shines. The sun is shining now. It appears dark and bleak and cloudy, but the sun is still shining. And more important than that, God's sun is shining. He doesn't ever stop shining. So that gives us hope. And I'd like to encourage you as we go through these dark times to fix our eyes on Jesus. That's the only way we can make it through these times, because He is the author and finisher of our faith. He knows who we are, and He knew all of this He knows the end from the beginning, so it doesn't catch Him off guard, these times that we are going through. And so when we set our gaze upon Him, it doesn't matter what's going on around us, because our focus is not on ourselves then, it's on Him. And I'm not suggesting that we live in denial. I'm not saying that we deny our trials or tribulations. I'm not saying that at all, but what I am suggesting is that we fix our gaze on someone who has all authority and all power to do something about those trials and tribulations. Amen? So, we've all heard the expression, can't see the forest for the trees, right? Have you heard that expression? Okay. Well, it's an expression used of someone who is too involved with the details to see the big picture. So to see the big picture or to see the situation as a whole. So this afternoon, I'd like to suggest that we train our hearts and minds to see the forest and not get lost among the trees, okay? See, to me, Jesus is the forest. He is the big picture. Our problems, our circumstances, our disappointment, these are all trees in the forest. There are trees under the forest canopy, and that's under God's control. So when we fix our gaze upon Jesus, who is the forest, instead of on the individual trees, the everyday cares of life won't consume us. We will see the forest instead of the trees. Our focus will be on the problem solver rather than on the problems. So I'm suggesting that we must develop our faith in such a way that Christ is our life and our life is Christ. To keep our gaze upon Jesus simply means that we refuse to speak a word, make a decision, or take a step without knowledge of his presence. Not out of fear or dread, but out of a heart of gratitude and thanksgiving, because it's a privilege to do that. He's given us this privilege to do this. And as we set our gaze upon him, then we can allow the peace of God to fill our hearts and to keep us. This peace which surpasses all understanding will be ours moment by moment. God knows each of us. He knows us by name. He has plans for us. He tells us that he has plans of good and not evil. So him having plans for us, they're not just for him. They're for us to discover and to unlock. I'm a firm believer that we're never too young or too old to discover God's plans for our lives. It's a matter of us seeking to uncover what he has in store for us. So even as we go through different phases, we know that plans change, purposes change. What I was interested in at 25, I'm no longer interested in that. My goals at 30 are not my goals at 60. So, God is ever present as we go through changes. And all we need to do is to keep our gaze fixed upon him. So I just want to close by saying, take courage. You're not alone in your struggles. Even today, some of you may have come with struggles or with disappointments that have been weighing you down. You're not alone. God knows your name, and he does love you. So I take my seat, but I'd just like to say God bless you and have a wonderful rest of the meeting.